What is up, DTube Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk a little bit about this topic of central banks wanting to ban stable coins. So they kind of want to get into the space of DAI, Tether, USDC, and kind of ban them. I don't think it's gonna work, man. I don't think it's gonna work. So okay, dude, you want to do this, but it's like I don't see it working, man. How would it work? Because it's like Tether, for example. They're already on, like, I don't know, British Virgin Islands or something like that. I mean, they can always find a jurisdiction where they can do their thing, right? And they're always going to be one step ahead, right? And at the same time, it's like, I don't understand what that has to do with the mainstream masses. Because the mainstream masses, they usually don't deal so much with stable coins. So stable coins looks like so dangerous for banks because it's like, it looks like they're like trying to take their whole kind of business model, and they kind of are in many ways. Even though stable coins in many ways kind of sucks. You know, it's like, why sit on a stable coin when you can sit on a crypto that can 1000x? So it's kind of like very petty, right? They don't like the little stable coin, and the little stable coin is almost like more innocent compared to all these other things that are like printing value for nothing, and they're like printing it all the time. So a lot of these DPoS chains, a lot of these new chains coming out, smart contracts coming out, these prints and prints and prints and prints. It's like, that is like where the real value is. And they're like trying to find a niche where they can sort of attack something. So it's very petty, you know, because it's like, first of all, I think those rich people that already use those stable coins, they are always a few steps ahead of you, and they can always find some new way to move value around. So we see a lot of talks, right? We see a lot of talks about regulation, a bunch, but it's like, how would you like implement that in like in the real world? Like if you talk about the real world, with like billions of humans, like how would you actually regulate that? Like I don't see it happening at all because it's not possible. Because someone that want to do something, they're always going to figure out a way to do something. Like there always is some sneaky way to do it. So for example, if you have central bank so-called digital stable coins, someone can use another person, and they can do the same kind of thing, you know. So it's like you kind of have to ban moving ones and zeros around in computers, and I don't see it happening, you know. So I remember following this file sharing thing, and when people are hyping it up 10 years ago, where people are like, oh, you downloaded this, so you're a bad person. And that's kind of like the same kind of trend I see now with this. Oh, you use a stable coin. Oh, you're a bad person because you're not using our system. But then eventually you realize, well, it's pretty nice. These new systems are pretty nice, and they're not that bad. But it's like people think like, oh, okay, you don't know what you're doing with the stable coins that they're moving around back and forth. But that's the same situation you already have with central banks. They're being caught all the time doing sneaky stuff. So it's like they are already doing the same thing as the crypto so-called stable coins. And many times these stable coins are not even stable, like they go down massive in value. Like, not what is stable in nature, you know? So it's kind of funny, like this like petty discussion where they're trying to see like, okay, we need to find a niche. Like, can we find some people that have some money, and can we figure out how to mess with them a little bit? But the moment you kind of try to do that, people are always going to be on to the next thing. They're going to create new stuff, and they're always going to like move their value around, you know? So it's always going to be this like cat and mouse game. And then eventually they're going to realize that it's kind of like a pointless game, because new technologies are coming out faster and faster, where people are becoming more competent. They can do more things with the technology, so they can always be one step ahead of you. So we have faster computers coming all the time. We have faster blockchains coming all the time. We have more humans on the planet. They're doing things, they're looking at things, and they're kind of looking at, okay, what's the best technology for the most amount of consumers. And when the consumers are millions or billions, they also outnumber you. So if you try to do some sneaky thing and it's not something that's good for the majority, it's like, okay, but you don't even have majority on your side. So it's like, it's kind of weird. So yeah, I don't see it happening, man. Like, and even if it happens, like, okay, they can try some ban or something like that, but then people are just gonna invent even more sophisticated systems to kind of do the same thing, but then you don't even know about it. Then you can't see it at all. Like, it will even be more ghosted. So when people want to do something and you kind of try to screw with them, they're gonna screw with you back, and they're gonna do stuff in more sneaky ways, or they're gonna use other people to do the same thing in sneaky ways. So it's like, yeah. So central banks, they probably also all the time, always want to kind of ban something or something like that. A lot of it comes from ignorance. Like, they don't realize how amazing this technology is. And one of the big problem is, like, with most humans, they don't have a digital crypto wallet. They don't have an experience with crypto. So they don't really know what it is. And it would take like years for them just to understand it. But after they get an experience of it, then they see that it's quite nice, actually. Like, it's quite amazing, actually. So that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about in this video. So these are like these like petty things that kind of the things, topics that keeps popping up all the time, about trying to, like, you can slow down technology a little bit. You can try with regulation or something like that. You can try to slow it down a little bit, but eventually you will not be able to hold it back, because if you always get more powerful smartphones, more powerful hardware, more powerful computing power, yeah, it's going to overpower the human mind and some funny ideas a human has in their head, because it just works faster, right? Because it's just computer code. So it really is like, people get annoyed by kind of computer code, and what they so what we're trying to do is, like, kind of in many ways replace central banks with like just smart contracts that does exactly the same thing, but just in more efficient ways, because it's just better, right? It's just better, man. And also have it so every person learns to use a token or something like that and be responsible with it, and kind of retain the value of that, and making people get an experience of using value in the digital world, without having to involve a third party or a middleman that we actually even don't even need now, because we have like smartphones and stuff, and these smartphones are really, really good, and you don't need a middleman anymore to do a lot of stuff, right? uh yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. Hopefully enjoyed. So yeah, I don't see it happening, man. Like, yeah, people are gonna talk about these things, but yeah, people like talking. Have a great day, DTube and Steam blockchain.